What's up, everybody? Sunday, November 20th at 1:15 is the first time we've gotten to sit down and talk about a Virginia Tech football win in over 2 months. You can maybe see the pep in my step. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hear the elation in my voice. It feels good to win a football game. Finally winning a football game against the Liberty Flames this weekend in a 1-point contest. Wow. Billy Ray Mitchell here in Fairfax, Virginia. We got Grayson in Los Angeles, and we have Pat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Virginia Tech defeats the Liberty Flames, extinguishes the Flames 23-22 on the road in Lynchburg, Virginia. As always, we are brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy, located right in Main Street, Blacksburg, Virginia. For those of you, if there is a football game traveling down to the game versus Virginia, go ahead and get yourself a Beat UVA pin. If you're a student in Blacksburg, make sure you go get your prescriptions. Check out what he has to offer, some Sons of Saturday apparel, all available at Main Street Pharmacy. You are more than a number. You are a neighbor. Boys, how we doing? We'll go west to east. Grayson, how you doing, my friend? He's got on a quarter zip. It's early in the morning.
I do. I got the little rowback guy on today. Mm-hmm. I feel great, man. I'm really excited about the win. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't feel real. It's kind of wild. Like when you lose for 2 months, you kind of get used to that. Mm-hmm. And so when the game ended, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we beat Liberty. So obviously
didn't know how to act. I was like,
and so automatically mood's better. This week's going to be great. It's Thanksgiving week. Mm-hmm. We'll go east. Patrick Finn, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. You wake up on Sunday, just feel better. You feel like, hey, why don't I dress up today?
Yeah.
Got round ball on at 3:30. We're getting the boys over to Comet Grill. It's going to be great. I mean, doesn't get any better than that, fellas. Bill, you good up there?
I'm good, man. I'm fired up to watch some basketball today. We didn't have any letters from the lunch pail responses, but I want to shout out Karen Wurtzel, who just summed it up perfectly. I said, can I get some thoughts, some questions, topics, haikus? Karen Wurtzel, her response is just such a great feeling, and such a great feeling it is. So let's go ahead and let's talk about a Virginia Tech football win. But first, Pat, I know you have a haiku.
Orange and blue for whose? That's 6 syllables, Grady Baker. Grady B.
No.
Grady B. A much-needed Hokie win. Recruit and reload. Thank you, Grady Baker. As always, Johnny on the spot with the Hokie haikus. Now, fellas, where did we watch? Where did we tailgate? I know that it's a lot more fun doing the where did we watch, where did we tailgate when we win. But we'll do the same thing, east or west to east. Grayson, where did you take in this game yesterday at 9 a.m. Pacific time?
I actually, no jocks or dailies this weekend just because it was such an early tip over on the West Coast. So I just watched it at home. I had to go into work as the game was ending. So I literally did not see the last couple of plays of this game. I was listening to it, but I mean, heard it and I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, it was the greatest feeling. But yeah, I was just at home, man. Morning coffee. I was in my cozy winter clothes here in Los Angeles. So yeah, man, where'd you watch, Pat?
So we were struggling to find the stream.
Oh, yeah.
Not an ESPN Plus customer over here. But we ended up going to Sandwich Max. So in Charlotte, we have Sandwich Max in South End on South Boulevard, which is pretty much the equivalent of Substation. I think they have like a similar ownership. I don't really know. But my boy Jay Litt and I, we crushed some Substation Sandwich Max as we we turned the game on. We bought the subscription halfway through the second quarter. After finding out we were up 17-7, I'm like, all right, this is sweet. And then all of a sudden we go down, of course, but won the game and celebrated it, shooting some hoops at the park afterwards. It was a great, wholesome Saturday. Billy Ray, what about you?
Yeah, and we will do the I headed down to the game with Ed Williams and the crew. and we had a great time. We were in Lynchburg. I'll keep it short and sweet now, but you'll get the full rundown of the Lynchburg report card. It was really odd. We parked at a parking lot. We got out, and it was dead quiet in the parking lot. No tailgating, no people throwing football around. It kind of was like the only thing that I could compare it to is everybody pulled up to church and you're walking into church. You get a, hey, go Hokies. And then I'm in line, like trying to get into the stadium. And I was like, guys, we get to watch football today. Woo! Woo! And people were turning around and looking at me weird. It was bizarre. But it was cool to be there to win. I was in the West Berm. The berm's pretty cool. So they have these cabanas on one side, and then they have these 3 rows of turf. A couple kids playing ball ran into me a bunch of times. I was considering shoulder checking them, but I was trying to go to jail. So, but I had a great time watching the game. A little chilly. It was cold. I will say that. But yeah, again, it's been 2 months since we've done this. So looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and let's open it up with the game recap, Grayson. Go ahead and hit us with it.
10-point dogs yesterday to Hugh Freeze's Liberty Flames. Was pretty crazy. Hokie fans going to Lynchburg, not really expecting anything, not really expecting to win. But we were proven wrong. Thank God. First and second quarter, Jalen Holston scores 2 touchdowns. Offense is doing well, kind of spreading out the field a little bit. Then Liberty has their kickoff return, which was not too great. And they march down the field and do what a lot of teams have done this season and score right before halftime. Tie ball game at half, 17-17. Third quarter was a complete snooze fest, very slow for both teams. And then Jalen Holston in the fourth quarter, 7 minutes and 46 seconds left, scores another touchdown. We're up by 1 point. And then to close out the game, the defense played absolutely lights out. We forced the turnover, run out the clock, and boom, Hokies get themselves a dub in Lynchburg, Virginia, over a very, very talented 8-2 Liberty football team. Good Lord, they were fast yesterday. But the good guys won yesterday. So there's a game recap.
Thank you for that wrap up, Grayson. First things first, coming from First and Main, our friends over at First and Main. If you're headed back over to Blacksburg, or if you live over there, you might need to bundle up. Because I got to tell you, the East Coast got smacked in the face with some cold weather. Head on over there. If you want to get inside, you want to huddle up, watch a movie, do whatever you need, head on over to McLean's. Watch a movie. Eat some popcorn. Hello Bagel for breakfast before the UVA game? Go on down there. Might I suggest, if you want to be a little cultured, don't just get regular cream cheese. Get some chives on there. Get some chive cream cheese. Fool yourself into it being healthy. But no, our friends over at First and Main, shop, eat, play. You can do everything that you need to do. Here's the thing. It was very dark. It was very sad. We were getting hit with seasonal depression. We were getting hit with football depression. We were getting hit with all of these different things, and everybody was upset. We were upset. The podcasting was sad. But one thing remained constant. 3 of the 7 losses that came in a row were just from one score. 2 of those games were by 1 point. And I said it all year, the most impressive thing about this team, this staff, and everybody is their ability to claw, fight, not quit, not let go of the rope. And I was so, so happy to see the team be able to go out and celebrate. We didn't even take the opportunity to beat the traffic yesterday. I was like, I have to see the team run on the field. I haven't seen them have joy. You watch Dax Hallfield sprint onto the field, slap Coach Pry in the butt. Everybody's excited. Everybody's having a great time. It was just great to see the team experience a win for the first time in 2 months. And it also points back to how quickly joy can turn to defeat and upsetliness. We saw that with Tennessee this past weekend, and how quickly upsetliness can turn into joy. You saw that with us, and you also saw it with South Carolina. First of all, South Carolina fans are crazy. They were all like, Shane the guy, fire Marcus Satterfield, whatever. They beat Tennessee, and now it's how can we sign Shane Beamer to a lifetime contract? So it's all very reactionary, but I think this is definitely something that we can use as a positive and continue to build on moving forward here. So I know somebody had notes about the uniforms that we wore yesterday. So go ahead and chime in on that.
Coming out in orange and blue, I thought that was really cool to see, to honor the University of Virginia's football program. I think it might have been every ACC team, but I saw a lot of schools have a UVA sticker on their helmet or some type of 1-15-41 patch on their uniforms on Saturday. I thought that was really cool. And Tech and the Flames coming out in all orange and all blue to recognize the Cavaliers. Commendable efforts by the Virginia Tech equipment staff, because I know that we were not supposed to wear orange at all this year, and they were supposed to be shelved to do the turnaround in a week, do the necessary stitching that was required. Good on them. Shout out to at VTFB Equipment, always doing great work. So let's jump into highlights from Saturday's game. We'll start it off with the offense. And I would say there's a lot of stats that we can throw around, but I think the stat of the day for the offense was Virginia Tech dominating time of possession for the first time in a long time. Tech had the ball for 36 minutes and 19 seconds yesterday. And if you think about it, this is probably what Brent Pry would dial up as an ideal game for Virginia Tech. You run the ball. We ran the ball 59 times yesterday, which was the highest amount of rushes we had all season long. Establish time of possession and turn them over at the right times and play sound defensively and win the football game. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I said we ran the ball 59 times. I say that as a pro and a con. As a pro, great to establish the time of possession and have success there. But we only ran for 176 yards. So you run it almost 60 times and you only have 2.98 yards per carry. That is not good. But we did run a lot of plays yesterday as well, 79 total plays, which tied the Wofford game for the highest play total all year. If we talk about Grant Wells and his performance, he had just 20 attempts through the air yesterday. He was 14 of 20 for 148. That was the least number of pass attempts that he had all year. So it was really about pounding the rock and just managing the game well, which we definitely did. There was a shining star yesterday in the red zone, and Tech played fantastically in the red zone here on Saturday. Jalen Holston had a great game, 26 carries, 99 yards, 3 scores, really the most important part here. The fact that he was able to find pay dirt 3 times. 26 carries is the most carries that anyone has gotten all year long. So we did not go away from running the ball. I think he only lost yardage on just a couple plays on Saturday in the backfield, but the line was moving and we were able to do that. Complimentary. Coach Pryde's always talking about complimentary football. Complimentary to Jalen Holston's efforts was Keyshawn King, who had over 7 yards per carry yesterday. 11 carries, 78 yards, had the costly fumble, but thankfully Tucker Holloway, Johnny on the spot, recovering the fumble. From our vantage point at home, it looked like Liberty was going to recover that ball in the fourth quarter there, but Tucker Holloway landed on it. Keyshawn King averaging over 6 yards per carry this year. Also a threat in the passing game. 4 receptions, 31 yards, over 109 total all-purpose yards. Keyshawn King is a playmaker, man. Like this guy, whenever he has the ball in his hands, he is going to make defenders miss. He is breaking tackles. He is shifty, and he is fun to watch. In addition to the efforts from our running game, we converted on 4th down 3 times yesterday, which has not happened really all year long. So that was the difference between winning a football game and losing a football game. Not even just converting on 4th down, but going for it in those positions in general was something that we were playing for nothing to lose. We had nothing to lose, and we executed the way we needed to. So really just wanted to to tip our caps to the running game and making things happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, I mean, I know I've done it, I've just seen it a lot, has been critical of Jalen Holston this season. And, he was a huge factor. I mean, he scored all 3 of our touchdowns yesterday, had a 99 carries, or excuse me, 26 carries is a lot of carries, 99 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think we don't win.
When was the last time anybody carried the ball for 26? I can't off the top of my head think of any time that happened.
I couldn't tell you, but I mean, we don't win the game yesterday. I firmly believe that without Holston. So I got to give that man his flowers. I know I've been critical of I guess the utilization of him this season, but great game yesterday for 0.
Yeah, just for the sake of like us having fun and guessing who this is, because someone indefinitely will put this stat out. Who do you think was the last player to average this many carries? I'm gonna sound dumb. I'm just gonna say like it feels like Quincy Patterson would have carried the ball 26 times against Notre Dame in 2019. Like I know that's not the answer, but when was the last time somebody had 26 carries?
McLeese. I bet it's Deshaun McLeese.
McLeese?
26 carries? We don't think Khalil Herbert ever got 26?
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Dude, the 2020 season's such an anomaly. Like, I just never think back to that season.
26 carries is insane when you think that is an unbelievable workload.
I feel like McLeese, maybe in the Belk Bowl, I feel like McLeese just had the ball, or the West Virginia game, maybe in 2017. I feel like he got a lot of touches in that game.
Somebody find that stat. When was the last time somebody had 26 carries or more?
All right, we'll find those running back stats. Whoever ran for more than 26. But Liberty was averaging over 30 points per game heading into Saturday. What did our defense do? What were the adjustments that were made? Billy Ray.
I think the biggest thing that we did that was great was we put a lot of pressure on the quarterback on third down, especially third down and long. I mean, we're going to go into the nitty-gritty on this, but our pass rush showed up. And what was kind of the biggest surprise I don't know if it came out in the press conference first, they were talking about it on the radio call first, but we learned that Chris Marv was actually handed play calling responsibilities on Monday for the first time this season. And one of my favorite quotes from Coach Pry from football season came out, and he says, "Look, let's get where thing is headed. Let's put fast forward on and see where things are going. Let's speed this thing up, baby. This guy's going to be our defensive coordinator. We're going to just put him out there and see what happens." And take a bow. Chris Marv, 13 points against Liberty. A great performance. Defense has held strong in spurts all year and typically ran out of gas, with a little help from our offense having some sustained drives, some aggressive play. It was great. It was great to see. So I'll go ahead and dive into the nitty-gritty with that, Pat.
I mean, we only gave up 13 points yesterday. When you take into account the points that were conceded from a safety and then the kick return. So it was the definition of a bend don't break kind of day. The defense only gave up 3 points in the entire second half. And like you said, the defensive line had a fantastic day. They were aggressive. They had 5 sacks, which is the most sacks that we've had since the Boston College game. That was anchored by our guy, Taiwan. Shout out to that guy, Taiwan Garbutt, the first ever athlete of the week on the Sons of Saturday. You guys can go listen to that episode from September. But Garbutt, Jalen Griffin, Mansour Delane, Kelly Lawson, Norrell Pollard, Keontae Jenkins, Shamari Connor, all were fantastic yesterday. If we want to jump into some stats here, Garbutt had 6 tackles. 3 of them were for loss, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Mansour Delane, 2 pass breakups, a forced fumble, 2 tackles for loss. He was targeted 6 times, and they only completed 1 pass on Mansour yesterday for -1 yards. That's from our guy, Chris Coleman, over at TSL. And then we're going to jump over to our guy, Doug Bowman, at 24/7 VT Scoop. Put this on the timeline earlier as well. Been doing this morning, We're the aggregator of all the good research. Defensively, the PFF grade, he rated as a 90.1, which was number 5 in the country among all defensive players who played significant snaps yesterday, and number 1 among all defensive backs. In coverage, he was an 89.6, which was number 4 in the country among all defenders and number 2 among corners. And for the season, PFF gives Mansour Delane the number 2 rating in the entire ACC for 2022. This guy is a true freshman. That's all. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. I got to say about Delane and watching him play, his composure, like even the way he runs, he reminds me so much of Macho Harris. He's and a little bit of Jaron Hosley. I think just like his situational awareness, the way he flies to the ball. He's a complete defender. And I mean, he's already a star as a true freshman. You know, we got to keep him in town. And I tweeted it earlier today. Next year, 23, we got to get that man in a single-digit number. It only makes sense the way he's balling
Grayson
out.
loves the single-digit numbers.
The single-digit numbers, dude. If you're a baller, you got to. Well, Tamari's graduating. A number 1's going to be available. We've had a lot of number 1 great defensive backs, and you know, to see him carry that on would be pretty badass. So. Great season for the true freshman.
Speaking of freshmen, Kelly Lawson had another great day out there. Had his first career sack. Has some great closing speed. Recovered the game-winning fumble. Had 2 tackles behind the line. Mr. CEO, we tip our hats to Kelly Lawson. And then what else do we have here? Liberty carried the ball 29 times for 115 yards, less than 4 yards per carry. The run defense was stuffing them all game long, including 12 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, which is the most TFLs we've had all year long. Forcing turnovers. Virginia Tech does not force turnovers in 2022. Like, we just haven't been doing it, right? I think we have 4 interceptions and 4 recoveries. Well, we did it yesterday at the best possible times in the game, and we converted on our turnovers. And then lastly for me about the defense is that they were making plays on 3rd and long and 4th and long, where we typically, surrender a big-time play. Virginia Tech was able to suffocate this flame, I should say.
Extinguish the flame. Very good. I just want to give props to the defense as a collective. They played a very complete football game yesterday. They looked a little bit tired at the end, but they didn't fold. And when you have a team like Liberty, who has a very high-powered offense, a very fast offense, that's a complete testament to Coach Marv and the guys for finishing the job, seeing it through. This season has been tricky. We've had some moments this season where we have folded. And we've just run out of gas. And so this is one of the more complete defensive performances. It's definitely up there with Boston College earlier this season. But we stuck it out, we stayed locked in, and we put them away. So I think it's a great debut for Coach Marv as defensive coordinator. Gotta love that. So proud of the fellas on defense, for sure. Moving on to special teams, Pat.
Saw a nice return by Cole Beck. 40-yard kick return was the longest one we've seen all year.
He would have scored if he stayed outside. Just want to point that out. He would have scored if he stayed outside.
Yeah.
Peter Moore, 3 punts inside the 20 yesterday. Grayson, I know you're fired up about Dr. Love.
Oh yeah, man. The fake field goal yesterday. Difference in the game. If you don't get that first down there, that sets up a touchdown. Subtract 7 points, 6 or 7 points. But I love that play call. You're playing like you got nothing to lose at this point in the season, because we really don't at this point. It was gutsy. It was perfectly executed. Shout out John Love. Getting active. It was like a fake option almost. And pitch out, catches the ball, gets the first down. And he sold it, man. Like, when he's lining up, I remember like looking at his face. I'm like, all right, he's got it. He's going to kick the field goal. And he's looking at it. He's like, yeah, no, I got this. And then all of a sudden,
what are you talking about?
Well, no, but the way I'm saying, it's like, I'm like, okay, we're kicking a field goal. We're getting the 3 points. And he's looking up, really eyeing it up. And then all of a sudden snap. And it's like, boom, he immediately starts running.
And he had to make somebody miss too.
Really?
We had, I think we had Gallo out there blocking or somebody, and then he had to make a guy miss. But no, a complete momentum change, complete awesome conversion on that. Pat, our guy Peter Moore seemed to have a little bit of a renaissance, a Peter Moore-assance.
That's right. I'm fired up about Peter having a good day yesterday. All right, lowlights. Yesterday, we already talked about the lack of yards per carry being over 4.0. Some more lowlights. Daquan Wright had 2 targets. Caleb Smith had 2 targets and 1 catch. Tough safety and sacks taken by Grant yesterday. Just not really getting rid of the ball when he needs to get rid of the ball. When was the last time Virginia Tech surrendered a safety? 2008 in the ACC championship game against Boston College.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Pat, the sacks that we took yesterday, I mean, we took 6 sacks. It was just bad, man. There are multiple opportunities where you can get the ball out. One of them that I didn't mind was the one towards the end of the game where he took the sack. It would have been better than throwing it away just from a keeping the clock moving perspective. But, I mean, we just can't. This offense is not in a position where you're going to be able to convert on 2nd and 15s, 3rd and 18s. Like, it just can't happen. Really, really tough Grant Wells game. Finishes 14 of 20 for 148 yards. And again, those 6 sacks, but was able to take care of the football. Another thing that you're not going to see on the TV, I really zoned in on Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith was wide open on Saturday. He was basically running routes on air, putting him in single coverage a lot of one high safety. Could have had an opportunity to have a really big game, but I really tip my cap to Caleb. A guy who came in this year, hasn't gotten the ball probably as much as he'd like to. He was visually frustrated a couple of times, but he never let that affect his play. He's never showing up his quarterback, continues to go out there. And, that was just an observation of mine, is that he was open a lot of the game and weren't able to get him the ball. But we're able to win the game on the ground.
Our offensive line has to improve drastically, especially in pass protection. I think this season, a main portal focus is you have got to go get some guys, some guys who are kind of bullies. Need that for next season, because right now what's out there is you can't have Grant Wells taking safeties. You can't have him throwing the football into the back of his offensive lineman's feet. It's not good. So we can move to the defense.
Moving over to the defense, I want to shout out David Teal for this statistic. This was the 6th. I want to also say, as this segment is a little morbid, we are still fired up about the win, but we are just pointing out some of the negatives. Shout out to David Teal. This was the 6th time in 11 games this season that the Hokies have given up points defensively in the final 1 minute and 26 seconds of the first half. That is not including the field goal return for Old Dominion in week 1. So that would make it 7 times that Virginia Tech has given up points inside of basically 90 seconds of the first half this year.
I think something that people have to consider is how many of those pre-halftime scores have impacted the final result of the games that we've lost this season. Most notably, Georgia Tech and NC State. Those scores, literally 1-point games that we could have won had they not scored before the half. I also think back to the Old Dominion game as well, but it's not a great stat at all. Seeing that on the timeline yesterday, right after it happens, I'm like, oh, well, it could be a factor today, very much so. Not great. Gotta iron that one out, especially in the offseason. So, lastly, special teams.
Well, the Del Barton boys soccer program, historic program, a lot of state championships. We would always harp on first 5, last 5. The first 5 minutes of the half, the last 5 minutes of the half are the most important 5 minutes of the half.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Chris Long on Ryan Russillo last night, and he was talking about the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half being the most important 8 minutes of the football game. This is where we must improve heading into next year. I stamp that also, guys. Special teams, we cannot be giving up kick returns. Come on. This was the first time we gave up a kick return touchdown since, checks game notes, Alabama 2013 in Atlanta. It's been that long. So 2 things happened in this game. We surrendered to safety, we gave up a kick return touchdown, and we won. Normally, you would say that those are 2 events that could definitely snowball into an L, and this team was resilient and overcame that. So that's really exciting, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, the only other observation I have is not about offense, it's not about defense, it's not about special teams, it's not about coaching. It's about like the entire team. It was appalling, the difference in team speed between both of these teams. And again, that comes down to just a credit of how much talent Liberty has been able to get into the door, and B, a lot of work that we have to do moving forward. But Liberty is a very, very athletic football team. And again, I want to circle back to this. It's very easy to kind of continue to point back and be like, man, we found a way to beat Liberty. What does that even mean? Liberty's a talented team. We were 10-point underdogs. I want nothing to be taken away from this staff and from this team just because we played Liberty. Again, this is not your average in-state, they're not even group of 5, but opponent. This is a big win for this program, and this is a big win for Coach Pry. So I wanted to end on that note, just kind of pointing out how important this is for this program and what a big win this is. You can't come in and say, we're going to get, and no one on here is doing this, but you can't come in and say, we're going to get blown out by Liberty. And then you find a way to win as 10-point underdogs. And then you say, well, okay, what did we beat Liberty? No, this is a big time win for this program this year and something that I hope we can build on.
Game ball. Game ball. We got 3 game balls to pass out. Game balls this week are brought to you by our friends at CMG Leasing. Sign your next lease in Blacksburg at CMG Leasing. All right. It's our guy 45, man. Taiwan Garbutt led the charge again. Funniest guy on the team. And also biggest bully in the backfield. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. And that forced fumble in the fourth quarter. We do not win the game without Taiwan Garbutt's efforts yesterday. Bill.
I got to give it to Eli Lawson. That dude is Kelly Lawson. I got to give it. I cannot stress how watching him on the field, you're like, yo, this guy looks like an SEC linebacker. He's long, he's fast, he's everywhere. He's only going to get better as he begins to understand the game, another year in the weight room. He is one of, a good group of young players who are going to be special and going to be a big part of this program moving forward. So he was just the guy that jumped off the field to me yesterday.
Is he the next Tremaine Edmonds?
He may be. I don't want to put it on that young man. Grayson loves comparisons. I see him licking his lips and rubbing his face. So go ahead.
He reminds me of Daddy Nicholas. He reminds me a lot of Daddy Nicholas. Very similar build, similar motor, and yet it's just very interesting. Like, I don't know, the size and just the style of play emulates Daddy Nicholas. So, and Daddy Nicholas was a great football player.
Yep. He absolutely was. His game speed, his length, he's going to be a really good football player for us, and he's going to play on Sundays. So I'm excited about him a lot. That's my game ball. Kelly Lawson, Mr. CEO.
Yeah. Mine's got to be Jalen Holston. I've been critical, and he had 3 touchdowns yesterday. Scored pretty much all of our points, helped us win yesterday. Needed that. Great win. So shout out to Jalen Holston. He definitely gets my game ball today.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
He absolutely deserves it. What's next for this football team? I mean, I think they are, and everybody else is preparing as if we do play a football game next week. if this is the final game of the football season, I said it coming into the game, that was a great opportunity to have something to springboard off of and something to build for. I do appreciate it. There are a lot of things that need to improve. There are a lot of things that we need to look at this offseason. I'm glad that this team was able to get the win. I'm glad that this team never quit. That's pretty much it. That's the ball game. I know we're flipping this over to Out to Lunch. Pat, why don't you go ahead and talk to us about Out to Lunch? I was at Roots yesterday. In Charlottesville. It was fantastic. Use the application. It was great. I loved stopping at Roots.
What'd you get?
I got the Santa Fe. Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm a big, like, customized guy. So I went in on the application. I doubled down on the meat. I got an extra lime squeeze, threw some avocado in there. So, you know, it was like it was a Billy Ray bowl is what I got. I got a Billy Ray bowl.
So your discount went a long way. You got the double chicken, you got the double avocado.
My discount was like a $6.50 markdown. Yeah.
Double chicken at Roots is a lot of food.
It is.
A lot of food.
It's a whole rotisserie chicken. It seems like chicken in the bowl. So, but it was worth it. It was a great time. After a weekend of eating unhealthy, Roots is exactly what the doctor ordered.
Roots, we're going to need you to come down to Charlotte. Come on down. All right. So this week we are playing the University of Virginia. Rutgers is the birthplace of college football. Charlottesville is the birthplace of Roots Natural Kitchen. So our code right now that we have locked in, I'm going to need you guys to pay special attention here if you're planning on going to Roots this week. Our code that we have locked in, that we locked in at the beginning of the season, is BEATUVA. Now, we have emailed our friends over at Roots, and we said, hey, we wanted to make an adjustment this week. We don't want it to be BEATUVA. We want it to be Who's for Hokies. So that's HOOS, the number 4, Hokies. Obviously, this was a last-minute thing. We have not connected yet, but I would suggest if you are planning on going to Roots this week, use either BEATUVA or Who's for Hokies, and then we'll put the accurate and up-to-date promo code on our social media channels. I want to shout out our friends over at Roots Natural Kitchen. Use the promo code and get 20% off in your order on the app. Out to lunch this week. I'm gonna throw some stones across the stream here over at my friend up in Fairfax. Wake up yesterday morning, dude. Lock of the day, Ole Miss -2. Lock of the day, lock them in. So I say, I trust my buddy Billy Ray. If he's only given me one pick, he must have done some good research here. What happened to Ole Miss yesterday?
I mean, Ole Miss got pulverized. I thought I don't know what the deal was. Ole Miss was 2-point. I think they were 2-point underdogs at Arkansas, the Fighting Sam Pittmans. And this year, it looked like Sam Pittman spent more time at Mission Barbecue than he did in the film room. But I think he moved back into the film room and absolutely put a whooping on Ole Miss. But I mean, if you're going to throw stones, I'm going to go ahead and pick them up and throw them right back at you, because as soon as Tennessee went down 21 points, Pat in 3 separate group chats was trying to coax me and everybody else to live bet Tennessee. I have text messages from Pat Finn that just blatantly say Tennessee is going to win this game. That is in one group chat. In another group chat, guys, live bet Tennessee. Pat Finn was rolling and bro. I think at the end of the day, we're just both very upset that we got head cracked by the bookies yesterday. It was a rough day. It was a rough day for me, but a really, really fun day in college football. So
crazy.
What a day it was. I'm getting an echo from somebody.
Gray, do you have an out to lunch?
Not particularly. Didn't make any bets yesterday. Sorry it went down the way it went down, fellas. You two were out to lunch this week.
Yes, we were. And thank goodness for the discount, because after that I would have a little bit of trouble affording Roots. What else happened in college football? First and foremost, I want to say that I'm devastated for Hendon Hooker. He suffered a non-contact injury in garbage time against South Carolina. I hate that for the young man. Yeah, nothing else to say about that. On the flip side of that, and the same football game, Shout out to Shane. Shane Beamer in South Carolina take down Tennessee in Columbia. Just an unbelievable. They didn't just win. They really took it to Tennessee all day long.
63 points, dude.
Yeah,
like they put it down.
Yeah, Shane Rattlesnake was wheeling and dealing. I mean, that was nuts. A nuts day in college football. College football is the best. I don't know why people don't like it. Testament.
Does anyone listening to this podcast not like it? Like,
No, but they all know somebody. Like, look, I love my buddy Willie.
It's the outside people.
I love my buddy Willie. He just moved down to Charlotte, and I always give him garbage because all week he talks about, the Jets have a big game. I'm like, dude, stop talking about the JV football team, like the JV football option. The best football is played on Saturday. Sunday, the NFL is on, and it's in the background while I'm meal prepping or vacuuming my living room. Okay, so that is kind of my take on all of that. But I love college football. I love college football. That's it. That's why it's Sons of Saturday.
Yeah.
Sharkies, shout outs for you all as we wind down our Win podcast. Boys and girls, we play the Cougs this afternoon, 3:30. Charleston Classic Championship. Neutral game, even though we're playing on the home court of the Cougs. Let's go win a trophy today. Tip our caps to the efforts made by the men's basketball team thus far. 5-0. We're marching forward here, looking to win a trophy. Here's another shout out. Our guys at Breakthrough Beverages, we did a Herradura tequila shout out on social media on Saturday morning. And we said, hey, whoever predicts the closest prediction to Daquan Wright's total yards, we will send you some Sons of Saturday merchandise. Karen Wurtzel and Sydney Harville, you guys both guessed 38 and 32. And Daquan said, hey, I'm going to split the uprights here and have 35 yards receiving. So Karen, Sydney, we will be reaching out via Instagram, delivering you guys some Sons of Saturday merchandise. Shout out to our guy, Davon Morgan, and the Florida A&M Rattlers. They have cruised to 9 straight victories after starting the season 0-2. They lost to Carolina and Jackson State in back-to-back weeks, but have been absolutely rolling. I say, Davon Morgan, does it feel like 2010? I know it does. Hashtag, if you know, you know. And lastly, my shout out to our friends at the University Club. Tell them the Suns sent you. Basketball season is about to get into high gear. Hang out at the University Club before or after your Hokie basketball games this winter. Grayson.
Yes, sir. I want to shout out the seniors on this team. If it was, in fact, your last game in a Virginia Tech uniform on Saturday, thank you for everything. Guys like Dax, Chamari Connor, Armani, Breon, Silas, Taiwan, the list goes on. There's a lot of seniors on this team. These young men have stuck with this program through a lot of hard times, a lot of difficult moments, a coaching change, a very impatient fan base at times. So I wish them all the best. I hope it's not their last game. We'll see what happens. Obviously, with the UVA tragedy, we just don't know at this point. But just wanted to shout out those guys. Dax was fired up when we won yesterday. And so if it is his last game, in any of those guys' last game, thank you for everything.
That does it for us. I'm about to go watch a basketball game. I'm about to watch the Virginia Tech Hokies basketball team compete in a championship hardware basketball game. I know everybody's fired up for that. Stick around here. I'm going to be actually calling up my guy, Ed, who's going to come up and give the report card for the game in Lynchburg and talk about what was an interesting weekend in Lynchburg. We're just going to give you the report card. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we're looking forward to this upcoming week. And have a good one. All right, everybody. We're doing a Lynchburg report card for the game day. I had a very interesting trip in Lynchburg. If anybody wants to know about that, we're not looking to take business away from anybody. You can shoot me a text or a DM about it. Happy to tell you about it. But we're going to talk about game day, and I'm bringing in my friend Ed Williams. We made the trip together. So I want to say this. First of all, the campus is beautiful.
Yes.
You got the rolling hills in the backdrop.
You can see mountains from pretty much anywhere on campus. It's pretty cool.
Yes. The Baptist Christian money is out of control. Every building is pristine.
At online school prints cash.
Online school prints cash. But I will say, given the nature of the school and everything else, the tailgating scene was bizarre. You park your car.
There wasn't really any.
Yeah, it's true. The parking situation, there was not a single person. I didn't see a single person throwing a football. I didn't see people like gathered, and it was so quiet.
Very
like
quiet.
You're kind of expecting it to get louder and louder when you walk towards the stadium. Never happened. No loudness. And then you get to the stadium and you're waiting in line, and it's 25 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah, there's nothing going on.
It seemed like when I was walking to go see my brother graduate from college. Like there was no noise, no anything. I'm in line, like I was saying earlier. I'm in line like, hey guys, get to play a football game today. Woo! And nobody would say anything. Another thing that was very bizarre pregame was they do a prayer before the game, which was cool.
I don't know that they always do that. I think that might have been UVA related.
Okay. Well, they do it at Notre Dame every game.
Oh, okay.
So I do think that they probably do that every game. But they had the class president come out to read the prayer or do the prayer. Stadium went nuts.
University president.
Yes. So, if Tim Sands were to come out and do a pregame pep rally or prayer, I don't know if he'd actually definitely wouldn't have gotten this reaction. The place went crazy. They may as well have said like the Jonas Brothers are coming out to do, the pregame prayer. So we did the pregame prayer, which was a nice touch. Stadium music.
Jonas Brothers.
They played the Jonas Brothers all day. Not really loud. There were maybe 2 or 3 times the entire game where it got loud.
Yeah, and there were like a couple weird times where the student section would get loud, but it seemed like random.
Yes.
It was like very random times where all of a sudden, like on a random timeout in the third quarter, they're doing this LU chant. That was actually cool.
It was cool.
But it was very oddly timed, I'll say.
What did they call the fourth quarter fourth quarter frenzy t-shirts?
Fourth quarter fury.
Fourth quarter
Fury.
Fourth quarter Fury t-shirts. They threw them out over the entire course of the fourth quarter. Like anytime there was a break, they'd be like, fourth quarter Fury t-shirts. And they'd throw them out. That was interesting. We sat in the burn,
which was cool.
Which was really cool. So again, they had the cabanas behind us and these 3 rows of turf. Just like the most brutal fan of all time was sitting behind us. So for any of you that heard the Vuvuzela on the broadcast, I saw a couple tweets about that. That guy was right behind us, but there was this other guy right behind us. I don't think he knew anything about football.
Didn't seem like it.
Like when they were kicking the ball off, he would be like, miss it, miss it, miss it.
How do you miss kickoff?
He was, and look, this is not an indictment on Liberty, but this guy, every fan base is a guy like this. Anytime a Virginia Tech player would get hurt, he would be like, get up, get up, get up. The guy was brutal. So I turned around, stared at him, and he goes, what's up? And I, in a little bit different language, basically told him like, you're being a complete jerk. And he goes, I'm actually a really nice guy. But he kept the comments to himself for the rest of the game. Just brutal.
It was very odd.
Very odd
Hokies,
fan
though,
base.
which was cool.
There was a lot of Hokies. You got the Let's Go Hokies chant going towards the end of the game. My general review, I think, the stadium itself is very cool.
Very pretty.
It's a very pretty stadium. It's a very pretty campus. Obviously, the football culture is not necessarily there.
Very different than Virginia Tech.
Very, very different than Virginia Tech. But overall, I mean, it's hard to give it like a grade because I don't ever want to go there again. But like schools of that level, I would say this. It was as if I went to a regular season, big time high school football game.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a good comp?
Yeah, but drier.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a high school game would be a little bit more energetic towards kickoff.
That's true.
But the campus is really pretty. The athletic facilities are phenomenal. Like the tennis facility was insane.
They have an ice rink on campus. Right. Another thing that was pretty cool, or not cool, I guess, it was just an interesting observation. Like I always go and I check out the concessions. I got Domino's, but they had these several things where they had lemonade stands. They were selling lavender lemonade at a football game, which I had one. It was good. And And that was that. That's our review. Look, obviously we're both fine. Didn't get captured by a Christian cult. Not speaking in tongues. Glad we won the football game.
Very glad we won the game. Facilities are phenomenal. Environment was weird. That's kind of it.
That's it. That's review. And take care, everybody.